Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Aleph, 5 lines down from the top of the Amud, where it says Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braise, Hakaire Pasuk Shal Shir HaShirim. A person that reads a pasuk from Shir HaShirim, or for that matter any other pasuk in Tanakh, and V'Aisa Isai Kimin Zemer, and he reads it like a song, meaning he's not reading it with the Taimei HaMikra, with the trop, the way it's read, but he's just reading it with some other tune, some other song. Or v'hakaire pasuk beveis mishtois, someone that reads psukim from Torah in places of parties, in any kind of party, a chasana or any other kind of gathering, any party, but not reading a pasuk that's like the parsha of the week. He's saying over a pasuk from the parsha, a pasuk that relates to that time, a yontif, and so on. In such a case, maybe ra la'olam. This brings bad things to the world. So the simple pshat of what it's talking about over here is when a person takes the psukim of Torah and he turns it into a song and he's just singing it for personal pleasure, for personal hana, just for his own enjoyment. That's one second. That's the taich of the Gemara. Now, as I mentioned, that's for hana, when a person is doing it for his own personal pleasure. When one is taking psukim from Torah, from Tanakh, and he's singing it as a song to praise the Eibishter, to mishabech the Eibishter with these psukim, so then there's actually a discussion in Rishonim and Paiskim about this, whether it's allowed or not. The Magen Avraham and the Mishnah Brura as well are machmer and say that you're not allowed to take psukim from Torah and use them as a song, even if it's to praise the Eibishter, if it's done not with the Taimei HaMikra and it's done not in the time when it's you're reading a pasuk from the parsha of the week and so on. But nevertheless, as you are mentioning, the minig ha'olam is to be makel, that we have all these songs that have all these psukim that are being sung, but it's to be sung as a shvach for the Eibishter. Then it's allowed. But if a person is just singing, it's down for his own personal hana, as a beat or whatever it is, then it's not allowed. And not only that, the Gemara here says what the Torah says about this. And the Gemara goes on to say that not only this, that it brings ra la'olam, and that is mipnei sha'Torah chageres sak. The Torah girdles itself with sackcloth. Vaymedes lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and stands in front of the Eibishter. Vaymedes, and the Torah says lefanov, Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, Asuni banecha, your children have turned me into kekinar shemenagnem by leitzim, like a harp that leitzim mockers or clowns are playing with it. So Amalah, the Eibishter answers back to the Torah that is complaining about what Yidden are doing, the way they are reading psukim of Torah and these kinds of songs. Biti, my daughter, b'shah sho'echlem v'shaisim, when the Yidden are eating and drinking, what should they occupy themselves with? They're saying psukim of Torah. What else should they say? So the Torah says to the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam, in Bali Mikrahein, Yasku, b'Torah, b'Nevim, b'Ksuvim. If they can read psukim from Tanakh, let them say psukim from Torah, Nevim, and Ksuvim, but not as in this kind of song for their own anah. In Bali Mishnah, if they can learn Mishnah, Yaska b'Mishnah, they should say from Mishnayos. This is speaking about even by a meal, or by Mishtois and so on. Or B'Halachis, B'Hagodis, as well. If in Bali Talmud, if they're ones that can learn Gemara, so then Yasku, they can learn the halachas of B'Hilchas Pesach, B'Pesach, and B'Hilchas Atzeres, B'Atzeres, B'Hilchas Chag, B'Chag, and each yontif. The halachas that relate to that time by a meal, you can say over the halachas that relate to that yontif, to actually say words of Torah, but not in this way of singing a song and turning the words of the Torah into a mockery. So hey, the Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Mishum Rab Shimon ben Chananya, Kol HaKaira Pasuk Bizmanoi, one that reads the psukim of the Torah in the time, like the parsha of the week, for the yontif and so on, then maybe Taiva Lailam. He brings goodness into the world. Shanema, the pasuk says, V'dava be'itai. When it's something in its right time, mat toiv. That's the goodness of the Torah that you bring into the world.
So you have a nigga, let's say Shabbos Negunim. They come also from the United. There's a lot of Shabbos Negunim.
There are a lot of them are from the Arizal, though those are not psukim of the Torah. Those are nuschais of different things, but like I mentioned, our minig b'payil is that we follow the opinion that says that if it's for shirais v'sishbachais to praise the Eibishter, even if it's not read and the taimei hamikra, the way you read it in the Torah, but you sing it as a song, it's allowed as a shirais v'sishbachais. Sing to the Eibishter.
The question over here is the whole area of entertainment.
Yeah.
You have to be careful how you present that area of entertainment.
Correct. Okay, going back to what it mentioned in the Mishnah, the Mishnah lists those that do not have a chelik in Olam Haba. So it says Va'alecha Shalamaka V'chulu, someone that whispers psukim of Torah on the wound that he has for purpose of healing. So Rabbi Yochanan said about this. What does it mean? Why doesn't he have a chelik in Olam Haba? Because it's uberoikig ba. The way it was done is you would spit onto the makkah itself, onto the wound, and then they would say a pasuk of the Torah. That's the case where it says Ein lechelik Olam Haba. But if it's not done in this way, then if you say the pasuk first and the person spits later afterwards on the makkah, so then it's not included in this. Or Rashi says if he doesn't say the pasuk in Torah as is, he says it in lashon laz. He says a translation of the pasuk in Torah. So then that would also be allowed. It's specifically when one says the pasuk in the Torah and he spit on his makkah and then he said the pasuk in the Torah. That's when it's ein lechelik lo'olam haba. So now the Gemara here brings itmer. We learned about this. Right, skip a line. So Rabbi Yochanan says because you're saying a pasuk, and you're saying a pasuk in the Torah that has the name of the Eibishter, and you spit on the makkah, and then you say the pasuk with the name of the Eibishter. That's when we say Ein lechelik lo'olam haba. But Rav says afile negatzaras. Even if you say the pasuk in the Torah where it does not have a name of the Eibishter, you say the pasuk where it says negatzaras kisiyah ba'adam v'huva lakayin, which you're saying it as a pasuk for refuah. Even without a name of the Eibishter, also it's not allowed. Reb Chanina says, even a pasuk that's not a content that speaks about a refuah of a negatzaras, it's just a pasuk vayikra Moshe. And even without the name of the Eibishter, and even without spitting, just saying a pasuk in Chumash for the purpose of a zechus for the refuah on the makkah, that's not allowed. That's Reb Chanina. But Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with this, and we pass on like Rabbi Yochanan. But Rabbi Yochanan says that it's only if one spits and it's with the name of the Eibishter. That's when it's not allowed, and that's when Ein lechelik lo'olam haba. Okay, now in connection to this, the Gemara brings another braisa about the halachas of Shabbos, which will also mention about these kinds of things, about a lachash, when one whispers psukim. Tana Rabbanon, so we learned in the braisa, sochin umemashmishim b'bnei mayim b'Shabbos. One may smear or rub oil onto his stomach on Shabbos. Now, what it's saying here is, on Shabbos, there's a gzeira. Chachamim said not to use medicine on Shabbos because you may come to crush the herbs that are used for the medicine. So therefore, things that are for medicine, for healing, you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. But this actually is allowed on Shabbos, and Rashi says the reason is because applying oil is similar to drinking. Sicha is like shtia, like drinking. Just like drinking is not considered to be something which is like a medicine, not allowed, so applying is also same, and therefore it's allowed on Shabbos. And you're also allowed to whisper whatever these words that will cause that a snake or a scorpion that are there should be stuck in their place. They shouldn't be able to move through this lachash that you say. And this is not a problem of tzeda, of capturing on Shabbos, because the Isra of tzeda is only if it's done physically by capturing them, but not through a lachash. The Chiddush over here, as the Mefarshim say, it's not speaking about a case where the snake is attacking a person. In such a case, you're allowed to go and capture it even physically. But over here, it's speaking, you just a snake and a scorpion that are there, that are annoying you, and you're allowed to say this lachash to keep them in their place. Umavirin kli al gav ayin b'Shabbos. You're allowed to put a keli on the eye in Shabbos. That's one shot. Rashi says you want to put a keli that will cool off the eye. So you put like a cold metal on the eye to cool it off on Shabbos. There's no issue of doing a refuah on Shabbos. Or another pshat Rashi says if the eye is like swollen and you put like this ring around the eye that it shouldn't spread, you're allowed to do this on Shabbos because there's no chash that you may come to crush anything to create a medicine because there's nothing involved here. There's a medicine that you crush on Shabbos. But Rab Shimon Gamliel says about this last point about putting this metal on the eye on Shabbos. If you're using something which is not muktzah, a keli that is for permissible purposes, like Rashi says, a key, a knife, a ring, that you can put on the eye in Shabbos. But if it's a keli that's used for a davah ha'aser, a keli that's malachtei le'isser, then aser. That's not, you're not allowed to use that to put it on the eye in Shabbos. And the reason for this is not because of the Isser of Muktzeh, because even something which is Malachtoi le'Isser on Shabbos, if it's Machmas Gufay, you're allowed to move it. But the reason is because if it's something which is a keli that's intended for a use of Isser, when you're using it here on Shabbos, that's already something that you're doing something specific for a healing, and therefore that's already included in the Gzeir of Chazal that not allowed to be done for healing on Shabbos. You're not allowed to ask Shadim to do you something on Shabbos. For example, someone loses something and he wants to ask Shadim to help him to find it on Shabbos. So Rashi says, it says, on Shabbos, you're not allowed to speak these kinds of words on Shabbos. Even on a weekday, someone should not use shadim to help him find something on Shabbos. And the Gemara will explain here why not. Rav Huna says, halacha Rab Yosi, or the Ger says, ein halacha Rab Yosi, that the Rishonim here, I think the Rishonim say it, the halacha is like Rab Yosi. Now, Vav Rab Yosi, the Gemara explains, why shouldn't you speak and have shadim help you to find something on a weekday? The reason is because there's a danger. Which means that mitzad, there's no issa to use shadim to be able to find an aveda, even though the Mefarshim do bring here, it says, Tomim tiyam avaya lekecha, that l'chatchila, you shouldn't use the power of shadim. But as far as the issa of kishuv is concerned, there's no isser of using the power of shadim, but nevertheless there's a sakana, because the shadim can come then and harm you. Kihad Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef, the story that happened to Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef was that he was using shadim and they came to harm him. The ivla ba'arza, he got swallowed up in a tree, in a cedar tree to save him. Vesavad le nissa, and a miracle happened to him. And paka arza opalte, and then the tree he spit him out again. This is the way Rashi learns Pshat in the Gemara here. That the miracle was that he was swallowed up by the tree, and then he came out of the tree alive, and because he was using shadim, so they could attack a person. Tana Rabbanan, going back to the point mentioned before, so we learned Nevraisa Sachin umemashmishim b'bnei mayim b'Shabbos. You could apply oil and rub the stomach on Shabbos, but it has to be done with a certain shinui, with a change from the way it's done in the weekday. So it shouldn't be uvdin d'chayil. It shouldn't be the way it's done usually on a regular day, a weekday. Heichi Oved, how is this done? Rab Chama b'Rab Chanina Masach v'achkach memashmish. That he applies the oil first and then he rubs, even though usually you rub the stomach and then you apply the oil. So here it's the opposite. He's applying and rubbing at the same time, which is also different than the way it's done on a weekday. Tana Rabbanan, and a brayso we learned Sarei Shemen, the Sarei Beitzim. These are shadim that are related to oil or related to eggs, that one could use the power of shadim with them. Mutaran lishal behem. You can ask by them. You can use their power. Ella, but the thing is though, when you use their power, they can lie to you. And therefore, they shouldn't. Similar to what it says before, it could be a sakana. Here it's saying you're going to try to use the power of these shadim, they could lie to you, so you can't rely on them. This lachash that you say, some kind of a whisper, whatever it is that is said that uses the power, this is only done with the shemen that's in a vessel. But in the oil that's in a person's hand, this lachash does not work. So lefichach, therefore, sachin. If someone brings you oil and he has the oil in his hands, so you could use this oil, and you don't have to be afraid that maybe there's some power of shadim in this oil. But when you have shemen that's brought to you in a keli, obviously in a case of if it's an individual that you suspect him that he might be using a power of shadim, so then you shouldn't use this oil. And the Gemara here brings an incident that happened. Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, he was staying in a place in an inn. So it was brought to him oil in a vessel. Shaf, he smeared this oil on himself, and then he had these boils that came out on his face. Nafik l'shok, he went out into the street. This woman saw him. Amra, she said, I see the spirit of this shade chamas on this person that has these boils. So Avdule Milsa Vitasi, she did something to remove this power of the shadim from him. Amalei Rab Abba Bar Mori. Rab Abba says to Rab Abba Mori, the pasuk says, Kol ha'machla shesamte b'Mitzrayim. All illnesses that I placed upon you in Mitzrayim, lo yasam alecha, I will not place them upon you. Ki ani Hashem reifecha, I Hashem will heal you. So the question on this pasuk is, if the pasuk says in the beginning that Hashem does not place any of these machlas upon a person, so the fool lama. Why does the pasuk have to say that Hashem will heal? There's no illness in the first place. Amalei. So he answered, Hachi Yom Rabbi Yechanan. This is what Rabbi Yechanan said, that mikra zeh me'atzmai nidrash. This pasuk, you could understand it when you look into the pasuk itself before. Shenema, the pasuk there says, Vayomer, Hashem says, Im shemaya tishma l'kayil Hashem l'kecha. If you will listen to the voice of Hashem. So what is it saying? Im tishma lo yasim. If you listen, so then you won't have a machla in the first place. V'im lo yisishma, if you will not listen, then osim, there will be a machla, but afal pikein. But although you did not listen, and there'll be a machla, ki ani Hashem reifecha. Hashem says, I will heal you. That's the pshat that it says here in the pasuk. Rashi The Chumash and Pshuta Shel Mikra, the Rebbe spoke about this Rashi many times. It's a little different. Over there, Rashi says that the Pshat, when it says that there's a machla, and then Ani Hashem Reifecha, is that when the Eibishter heals, even when there is a machla, but when the Eibishter heals, he heals ba'ifun kazeh, as if there was never a machla. There's nothing, no reishim, nothing left over, like Lamafreya, like it never was. Yeah, Chaydish Ir, right. That's a Ani Hashem Reifecha. It's a different kind of refuah. Omar Rabba Bar Bachana. So in connection to this, the Gemara says, Keshachala Rabbi Eliezer. When Rabbi Eliezer was ill, Nichnasu Talmidov Levakra, his students came to visit him. Omar Lehen, so Rabbi Eliezer says to them, Chema Aza Yesh Bailam. There's a lot of anger of Hashem in the world. So either he was referring to himself, or he didn't want to say on himself, so he said regarding the world, or others say no, that he was referring to the world, and that's why it's affecting him also. So Schiluim Beichen, his students began to cry. Rabbi Akiva Mesachik, and Rabbi Akiva was laughing, or he was okay, he was smiling, laughing. Amrullah. So the other students said to Rabbi Akiva, Lama Ata Mesachik, why are you laughing? Amrullah. So he answers them, and why are you crying? Amrullah. So they say to Rabbi Akiva, we have a Sefer Torah, which is Rabbi Eliezer, that is a Talmud Chacham, and it's like a Sefer Torah, and he is in pain, and we shouldn't cry. Amrullah. So Rabbi Akiva says, Lekach ani mesachik. It's for this reason itself that I am laughing. Shekol zman shani roya Rebbe. As long as I saw my Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer, that he had a unusual success in everything. She'en yene machmitz, his wine never went sour, vinegar, ve'en pishtani loike, his flax never went bad, ve'en shamni mavish, his oil never went bad, ve'en dubshani madvish, his honey never went bad. So everything, he had an unusual success in everything he did. So Amarti, I said, Shamachas v'shalom kibul Rebbe yolamai. Does it mean that my Rebbe is already getting his reward of Olam Haba here in this world? But now that I see that he has tsar, ani sameach, so I'm happy. Because what does this mean? What that means is that by tzaddikim, whatever einish there has to be to a tzaddik, the Eibishter gives them here in this world in order that they should be able to get their full schar in Olam Haba. And that's what I'm seeing my Rebbe experiencing now. So now Rabbi Eliezer hears this. Amalai, so Rabbi Eliezer says to him, Akiva, klum chisarti min ha-Torah kula. Is there anything that I was lacking from the Torah, that I'm getting this little pain here, that I'm getting this pain in this world in order to be able to get Olam Haba? Amalai, so Rabbi Akiva answered him, Limader Tanu Rabbeinu, you, our Rebbe, taught us, it says the pasuk, Ki Adam Ayin, or Ki Adam Ein, Tzadik, Ba'aretz Asher Yaseh Tov, that there is no person, no tzaddik in the world that does good, and there's no chet. No, the word of chet means literally a chet, but it also means any kind of chesaron. Anything that there should be a chesaron, and that the Eibusha gives the tzaddik some kind of tzar in this world that he gets olam haba b'shleimus in olam haba. Yeah, this is the story of Rabbi Akiva is very similar to what you have in the end of Makkis and in other places also. Rabbi Akiva sees the positive. When he sees the tsar, he sees the positive that there really is in this. What's coming out in the future. Doesn't only look at the present. Yeah. The Rebbe spoke about this many times. That's the Nukodia that Rabbi Akiva sees here, the good and the future that comes out. Tana Rabbanon and Abraisi we learned seemingly about the same kind of story, but here it says a different conversation that there was between Rabbi Eliezer and the students. Keshachala Rabbi Eliezer. When Rabbi Eliezer was ill, Nichnasu Arba Zekanim. So 4 of the Zekanim came to him. So before it says that with Talmidov, here it says Zekanim. The Zekanim came Levakroi, and they are Rab Tarfim, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and Rabbi Akiva. So then Rab Tarfim V'amar, Rab Tarfim said, and he was praising Rabbi Eliezer. He said, Toiv atali Yisrael mitipish lo geshamim. You're better for the Yidden than a drop of rain. Shetipish lo geshamim ba'olam hazeh. Rain is beneficial here in this world. But our Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer, ba'olam hazeh, ba'olam haba. His benefit is in this world and in the world to come. And then Rabbi Yeshua V'amar, Rabbi Yeshua said, that Toivatal Yisrael Yosem Rigalgal Chama. You're better for the world even more than the light of the sun. Shigalgal Chama B'Olam Hazeh. The sun is in this world. And then but it's not Lasad Lava. So Rashi brings Lasad Lava. It'll be the air will be renewed in a different way. But for Rebbe, our Rebbe is B'Olam Hazeh U B'Olam Haba. Is in this world and in Olam Haba. So as the Maral here says that the Gemara brings here what each one of these Zekanim said about Rabbi Eliezer, and each one added even more. It's not only he's more than rain, he's even more than the sun. And then even more, you're better for Yidden even more than a father and a mother. A father and a mother brings a child into this world. Our Rebbe is B'Olam Hazeh U B'Olam Haba. He brings us Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba as well. Then Rabbi Kiva said, and this is similar to what Rabbi Kiva said before, Chavivin Yisurin, beloved are the suffering that a person experiences in this world. And he was saying this about Rabbi Eliezer's condition, that he was suffering. So when Rabbi Eliezer heard what Rabbi Kiva said, he says, Samchuni, support me. Ve'eshma, I want to sit up. I want to hear Divrei Akiva Talmidi, the words that Rabbi Kiva says. Shama, he says, Chavivin Yisurin, that the pain, the suffering is beloved upon a person. So Amaloi, so Rabbi Eliezer says to him, Akiva, Zuminayin loch. Rabbi Kiva, where do you know this from? What's the source that the person should cherish Yisurim? So Amar, he said, Mikrani Doirish, I darshan the following pasuk. And this is a pasuk where it speaks about Menashe, which was the son of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. And this Menashe was a big Rasha. And as the Gemara here is going to bring the psukim that will point out that after everything that was done, nothing brought him to tshuva besides Yisurim. So we see that Yisurim have a big benefit that it brings. Rashi says, that's okay, that's going to get to Menashe, but over here also going to get to Rabbi Eliezer. The Yisurim brings a kapara. So what's the story by Menashe? Then Shtei Mesri Shana Menashe b'Malchoi. Menashe was 12 years old when he became king. And he was a king for 55 years. And he did terrible things in the eyes of Hashem. He brought Eden to serve Avodah Zarah and so on. Now, who was Menashe? Menashe was the son of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Now, what does it say about Chizkiyahu? It says about him, Gam Eila Mishlei Shloima Asher Hatiku Anshe Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. Chizkiyahu, he was the one that wrote down the Sefer of Mishlei from Shlomo HaMelech. And not only that, we had before regarding Chizkiyahu that he taught Torah to the entire Klal Yisrael. The Gemara before brought that he stuck a sword into the Beis Medrash and said, whoever's not going to come and learn Torah will be killed by the sword. And in his time, everybody knew Torah from the north to the south of Eretz Yisrael, as the Gemara described before. That's who Menashe's father was. So now the question is that V'chi Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda l'chal ha'olam kulei limud Torah. He was able to teach Torah to everybody else in the world. But Menashe Benoi, his own son Menashe, lei limit Torah, he didn't teach him Torah. So what does this mean? Ella, the answer is no. Mikol Torah shetarach by. He did try very hard to teach him. Or Mikol Amal Shalom by. He toiled on this. Le'alal lemutaf. He wasn't able to bring him back on the right path and to the good path. Ella Yisurin. It was only later when Menashe suffered that he did tshuva. Shenem, the pasuk says, "Vayidab Hashem al Menashe vel Amoy." David speaks to Menashe and to the people, to the Yidden, v'lo yikshivu, and they didn't listen. Vayovay Hashem aleim esarei hatzava asher lamelech Asher. So then Melech Asher comes, and vayilkedu es Menashe. They captured Menashe b'choichim, in rings or in handcuffs. Vayesru b'nechashtim. They take him in copper chains. Vaylichu Bavel. They took him down into Bavel. And Eksiv, and the pasuk over there says regarding when he was in Bavel, when it was bad for him. So then, Chila es pnei Hashem. He dived into the Eibush Elokov. Vayachna ma'oid. He was very subdued and very humble. Milafnei Hashem. Elokei avoisa. Vayispal leilov. And he's diving to the Eibush. Vayasaloi. Vayishmat chinasai. The Eibush answered him. The Eibush heard his supplication. Vayishivu Yerushalayim l'machusai. The Eibush brought him back to his kingdom into Yerushalayim. Vayeda Menashe ki Hashem hu Elokim. And he knew, Menashe then knew that Hashem hu Elokim. Okay, so over here you see that Menashe, only through all these Yisurim, that's when he dived into the Eibush. So here you have a piece in the Gemara that for some reason didn't make it into the Gemara itself, but the Marshal brings it. Over here it's brought in our other base in the Hagos V'tziyunim. Not sure if you have it on your page in the Gemara, but I'm just going to read it quickly over here because this is relevant also for the continuation of the Gemara. What exactly happened to the Menashe? What it is that he said when he dived into the Eibush. What was done to him? Shadyu bedudu the nechasha. They threw him into this copper pot. For sure, the nurab to say, and they lit a fire beneath it. Vavakom mitztayet tuva, and it was very painful. Amar. So he said to himself, Menashe, heichelev. What am I going to do? Nikri lakadosh baruch hu. I'll dive into the Eibush, but koiselavo. He's angry at me. Nikri l'avodah zarah. I'll dive into avodah zarah, but less b'mashasha. Avodah zarah is not going to help me. So what did he do? Kara l'gdaylem v'loyanua. He called out to the big avodah zarah. No answer. Kara l'ktanim. He calls out to small avodah zarah. V'loyanua. There's no answer. So then, after that, he turns to the Eibush. Amar says, Rebbeinu shalom imanisali. Anisali. If you answer me, so you answer me is good. But v'loi, if you won't answer me, so then amine, then I will say about you that iyunami kavasayin. Look, I called out to Avodah Zarah and I wasn't answered. I called out to the Eibush and I'm not answered, and you're just like them. So miyad, immediately vayasaloi, the Eibush did answer him. Vayishivei olam achusay. The Eibush brought him back to his kingdom. That's how we dive into the Eibush. First had Avodah Zarah, and then he dives into the Eibush. But the point is here, the Gemara concludes back into the Gemara here. From here we learn that the Yisurim bring a kapara, or in this case, it caused Menashe to do tshuva. Okay, so now the Gemara continues.
Then he became a king.
Yeah, that's what it says. He went back. He was a king again. Yeah. Tanarabanan Shloisha Bo Ba'alila. There are three that spoke to the Eibishter in this kind of manner, similar to Menashe. They demanded by the Eibishter with a alila, like a libel. What does this mean? Eloheim, Cain, Esav, and Menashe. Sorry, the Gemara will describe over here these three: Cain, Esav, and Menashe. Cain, that is the Chsiv. The pasuk says that after Cain killed his brother, and the Eibishter punishes him. So what does Cain say to the Eibishter? Gadol avayni minasai. My aveda is too much to handle. So what it means is, Amal Afanov, he says in front of the Eibishter, Rebbeinu Shalaylam Klum, Gadol avayni mishishim ribai shasidan lachta lefanecha. Is my aveda greater than the Yidden, the 600,000 that are going to sin by the Chet Egel, v'ata selech lam, and you will forgive all of the Yidden? So what is he saying over here? So if you could forgive them, for sure you could forgive me. So, but he's saying this, if you can't forgive me, that means that my aveda is too big that the Eibishter can't forgive. So by saying that, he sort of brought the Eibishter to forgive him, so that he shouldn't say that the Eibishter can't forgive him. So this is like this alila, that he's speaking this way to sort of kaviyachol, force the Eibishter to forgive him. Esav, and regarding Esav, similar also. What happens after Yaakov gets the bracha? So by Esav it says, it's only one bracha that you gave to my brother Yaakov, and therefore I can't get any bracha. So here also he's doing a similar thing. He's sort of saying, the source from where you're getting a bracha, there's not enough brachas for me. So therefore, in order to prove that there is more brachas, so Yitzchak benches him also. Then by Menashe, it's like we learned before. Menashe betchila kadal lehosa. First he davened to Avodah Zarah, and on Lubasayv kadal lekevaysav. Only afterwards he says, after Avodah Zarah doesn't answer me, the Eibishter doesn't answer me either. So that means that the Eibishter is like Avodah Zarah. So that's how he brings the Eibishter to answer him. Okay, so this is the Alila here. Okay, but it says in the Farshim that the Eibishter, it's not like he's playing a game here. The Eibishter answers anyways, because Afal Pikein, the Eibishter does not want. Eibishter gives a chance that there shouldn't be a weakness in a munah, and therefore the Eibishter gave him a chance in all these three cases here: Cain, Esav, and Menashe. Okay, going back to the Mishnah, it said Abishal someone that says the Eibishter's name with its letters the way it is and pronounces the Eibishter's name. So simply, this is referring to the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, pronounces the name of the Eibishter. Also doesn't have a chelik leilam haba. But Rashi here actually brings that it's when it says here the Shem of the Eibishter, it speaks about the Shem of Mem Beis Isius, a Shem that has 42 letters to it. Okay, so the Gemara says Tana and Abraisa we learn to Begvulim, that this is outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Anywhere else in the borders of Eretz Yisrael, but not in the Beis HaMikdash, because in the Beis HaMikdash they did say the Eibishter's name. This is, if it's the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, so then that is, they said the Eibishter's name, by the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur, or in other times, the Birchas Kohanim even, or others say that even any bracha that was made in the Beis HaMikdash, it was said with the full pronunciation of the Eibishter's name, or according to Rashi, it refers to the Shem of the Mem Beis Isius that was said in the Beis HaMikdash. And Ubeloshin Aga. According to one pshat in Rashi, Beloshin Aga means that even in the Beis HaMikdash, if it said Beloshin Aga, means that it's not said in Lashon Kodesh, but it's said in another language. He's saying that name of the Eibishter, but in a different language. And again, according to Rashi, this is the Shem of Mem Beis Isius. Then Rashi here says La Laga Aga means another language. Then even in the Beis HaMikdash, this is a problem. Another pshat Rashi says that Lashon Aga is referring to what it just said, the Begvulim, outside the Beis HaMikdash, and the Brais here is adding. Even this that it says that if you say this name of the Eibishter outside of the Beis HaMikdash, Ein Lechelek Leilam Haba, that's only if it said Aga. Aga means when it's a circle of people that are just speaking mundane talk, and there you say the Eibishter's name in that kind of conversation. Only then do you say Ein Lechelek Leilam Haba. Now, going back to the Mishnah, it said Shloisha Malachim, 3 kings. Va'arba had Yaitis v'chulu. There were 3 kings, and then other 4 plain individuals that don't have a chelik leilam haba. So one of the first of the 3 kings is Yeravam ben Nevat. So here the Gemara is going to go through a whole big arichis about who Yeravam ben Nevat was. So Tan Rabbana we learned in Abraisa Yeravam. What does the name Yeravam itself mean? Sheriba He made Yidden fall down very low. Yeravam ben Nevat was a king that brought Yidden to serve Avodah Zarah. As we'll see soon, he made 2 egels, 2 golden calves he made. Another pshat, Yeravam means she'asa meriva ba'am. He caused fighting amongst the Yidden. Why? Because he caused them to serve Avodah Zarah. And then there were others that did not serve Avodah Zarah. So it became a big fight amongst the Yidden. A third pshat, Yeravam she'asa meriva ben Yisrael, la'avim sh'vashamayim. He brought fighting between Yidden and their father in heaven. That's his name. Now Ben Nevat, who is his father Nevat? This is Ben Shenibet V'leira. Nivet over here means that he saw something, but he didn't know, he didn't see properly. Now Tane, we learned about who his father was, who Nevat, who Micha. This Nevat is Micha, who Sheva ben Bichri, and his real name is Sheva ben Bichri. As the Gemara here says, Nevat means Shenibet V'leira. He saw, but he didn't see right. Micha, who's this Micha? This Micha is the famous Micha that Moshe Rabbeinu took out of the Mitzrayim, Shenis Machmech Bebinyan, that he was squashed in the binyan, in the building of Mitzrayim, and Moshe Rabbeinu davened to the Eibusha and took him out from in Mitzrayim, and the Eibusha told him that you shouldn't take him out of Mitzrayim because I'm trying to get rid of those Yidden that are not supposed to be going out of Mitzrayim. But the Moshe Rabbeinu took him out of Mitzrayim, and then later this Micha made a pesel Micha. He made a pesel on Avodah Zarah. That was who this Nevat was. Now, there are some that say actually that this Nevat wasn't actually this Micha, because if that would be the case, that would mean that this Micha had a tremendous Arichas Yamim of hundreds of years. Because Micha was still from Mitzrayim, and he was still alive then, when so many years later by Yeravam. So some say that this Nevat was a descendant from Micha. Now, Umar Shmai, what is his name? Sheva ben Bichri Shmai. His name was actually Sheva ben Bichri.
He was the first Melech Yisrael.
Correct, the first Melech Yisrael.
He took 10
right.
tribes with him.
Yeah, correct.
But
correct.
It wasn't Rechavam and Yeravam.
It's all the stories are coming in the Gemara. Everything's coming. We're going to learn part of it today, but it's all coming. Tana Rabbanan. So we learned in the Braise regarding what was mentioned before, the name Nevat. Shloisha Niftu. There are 3 that saw, but Veloi Ra. They didn't see right. And Ve'elu Vein, Nevat, Vachitoifel, Vatstagnine Parai. Nevat and then Achitoifel, which was an advisor by David HaMelech, and the stargazers by Parai. Nevat, what happened by Nevat? Ra Eish Sheyetzes Me'amasai. He saw in a dream fire coming out of the Eivah of the Bris. Now, who savar? He thought, Iyu Malach, that's a sign that he's going to be a king. But Veloihi, but it wasn't true. And now Rashi explains that this is the reason why this Nevat, so he joined Avshalom to make a rebellion against David HaMelech. Because he thought that then Avshalom will be the king, and then eventually he'll take over the kingdom. That's what he thought the plan was. But he saw wrong, because what really ended up happening, Yeravam hu denafik minei. What he saw was that he'll have Yeravam, a son that will come out of him, that will be a Melech Yisrael. Now, similar Achitoifel, Ra Tzaras Shazar Chalai al Masai. He saw in a dream Tzaras that was growing on his Amma, the Eivah of the Bris. Now, who saw that? He thought what this means is that Iyu Melech, that he himself is going to be a king, and that's why also Achitoifel joined a rebellion against David HaMelech. Okay, because he thought again that he'll become a king. But V'lai he also made a mistake, and the reason is because what did he really see? Bathsheba Bitoi, Bathsheba, the wife of David, was Achitophel's daughter, who the Nafka Minei Shleime, and Shleime Melech was the son of his daughter Bathsheba, and he became a king. It's Tagnine Pare, the stargazers of Pare also saw something, but they didn't know what they were seeing. Because what is the meaning of the pasuk where it says Heima Mei Meriva? This is the Mei Meriva, when the story by Moshe Rabbeinu, when he hit the rock, because of that he couldn't enter into Eretz Yisrael. It uses the term Heima. What does it mean? Heima, this is it. Heima Shiro, it's Tagnine Pare. This is what the stargazers of Pare saw when they said that Vito, they made a mistake, and Ro, they saw Shemishi and Shal Yisrael, that the savior of Yidden, B'mayim Uloike, he's going to be punished with water. So Amru, therefore they said, what should we do? That any son that's born should be thrown into the Nilos, because he can be killed that way. That's what they thought they were seeing. But they didn't know Shal Iskeme Meriva like that doesn't refer to then, but it refers to years later by Moshe Rabbeinu that he will be punished with the story of Mei Meriva. Okay, now going back to Yeravam ben Nevat. How do we know that Yeravam ben Nevat is not going to have Olam Haba, like it said in the Mishnah? Because the pasuk says, "Vayihi bedavar hazeh lachatas beis Yeravam ulahakchid ulahashmid ma'al pnei adam." It uses 2 expressions here regarding Yeravam. So what it means is lahakchid means ba'olam hazeh, that they should wiped out, that there's no descendants of Yeravam ben Nevat in this world, and also lahashmid will be wiped out la'olam haba. Now here the Gemara starts the story about Yeravam ben Nevat. How was he zeichet to become a king? So Rabbi Yechanan says, why did he merit to become a king? The answer is because he rebuked Shlomo HaMelech for something which was positive. And the Gemara will bring that story. Now, why at the same time was he punished? Because he rebuked him publicly and he embarrassed him. Now, what was the story? Sheneva, the pasuk says, this was the thing that he lifted his hands against Shlomo. This is about Yeravam. And what is this? So what happened over here? He closed up a wall, a place that was open from what in Yerushalayim that David HaMelech opened up. Now, what is this? What did he rebuke him about? Amaloi. So Yeravam says to Shlomo HaMelech, David avicha paratz paratzes b'chayma. David, your father, so he breached the wall of Yerushalayim in this place. Why? Kedeshayalu Yisrael l'regel, so that Eden should come up to be oile regel, and they should have it easy to be able to come and walk through. Va'ata gadarta isam, and you closed up the walls there. Kedelasa isangaria labas parei. In order that you got married to Bas Parei. That's what happened to Shlomo Melech. He got married to the daughter of Parei. And now you want to collect taxes to have for yourself and for what you need for your wife. And therefore you closed up the door to be able to collect taxes over here for Bas Parei. That's the simple pshat of the Gemara. Rashi has another few pshatim here in the Gemara. Either it means simply that he wanted to collect taxes, or that he closed it up and that's where his wife was living, that everybody passed through over there, and everybody would give her the right honor for this. Or another pshat Rashi says that Shlomo Melech kept the keys of the doors for himself, for the Beis HaMikdash and for everything. And the king, the derech of a king is that he sleeps late into the day, and therefore they had to wait for him to come into the Azara to do the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. Umay v'zeh sheherim yad b'melech. What does it mean that he lifted his hand on the Melech? Amar Rav Nachman, what it means is also something else. Shechalatz tefillah b'fanav. That he removed his tefillin in front of the king, and removing a tefillin in front of the king shows that he doesn't have the proper fear of the king. It shows a certain merida b'malchus. Or another pshat is that he takes off his tefillin like he's coming to fight with him. Like Imam Ishi lifted up his hands. That's what it means. Yeah, but the Mefarshim over here say Yeravam ben Nevat. We're talking over here about Shlomo Melech. When it says here that he wanted to collect taxes, it doesn't mean literally. It means that it looks like he wanted to collect taxes, and that's why Yeravam ben Nevat gave him this musar. Now, Rav Nachman says, Gasas haruach shahaya by Yeravam. It was the gaiva, the haughtiness that Yeravam had in himself. That's what brought him to be completely removed from this world. Shanema, the pasuk says, when by the first Beis HaMikdash, this in his times, Yeravam said that Ata Toshava Mamlacha lebeis David, the kingdom came back to the house of David. Who was the king in his times? Rechavam. So he was the Melech Yisrael, but then Rechavam was the king to Beis David. If all the Yidden are going to go to Yerushalayim to bring karbanis, and Vishav Leva Amazel Adinaim, and the people are returning to their master, which is Al Rechavam Melech Yehuda, to Rechavam, which was the king then from David, from Shevet Yehuda. V'haraguni, and the Yidden are going to kill me. Vishavu Al Rechavam Melech Yehuda, and they're all going to return to Rechavam, which is the Melech Yehuda. So that's what the pasuk says. Now, what really happened over here? Omar Yeravam said to himself, Gimiri, we know it says in the Braise, the Ein Yeshiva Ba'Azara. Nobody is allowed to sit in the Azara. Ela lamalche based Yehuda bulvad. Only a melech from Yehuda, from David, is allowed to sit in the Azara. So now he said, Kivin the Chazal Rechavam the Yosef. They're going to see that Rechavam, which is a king from Beis Yehuda, he's sitting in the Azara. V'anok kaimno, and I have to stand. So Sabri, they're going to think that Ha Malka v'Ha'avda, that Rechavam is the king, and I'm just his slave. Now v'yasivna, and if I will sit down, moirid b'malchus avoy. So then I'm moirid b'malchus. I'm allowed to sit, and I'm sitting down in the Azara in front of Yerchavim, the Melech from Beis David, and v'katlanli, and they're going to kill me. That's what it said in the pasuk that Jesus said the Eden are going to kill me. V'azlu basrei, and they're going to go after Yerchavim. So miyad after this, immediately what he did is vayivot Samelech. He took advice of his advisors. Vayas shnei eglizov. He made 2 eglizov, 2 golden calves. Vayemer aleim, and he said to them, Rav lechem alois Yerushalayim. It's too far for you to go up to Yerushalayim. Hine elehecha Yisrael asher halucha me'eretz Mitzrayim, and vayasam ha'echad beveisel. One of them he put in Beisel. Vayasechad nasam bedan. That's when Yeravam created these 2 egos because of his gaiva, because he didn't want to go to be in a position, a place in the Azara where Rechavam is going to be sitting and he's going to have to be standing. That's where his downfall was.